Good morning, everybody. It is everybody's favorite spider nerd here. I think that when it comes to my content, I serve a couple of niches. One of those being math, the other being just sitting around talking during brunch, I guess. But one thing that I have been trying to do and be more mindful and meaningful with over the last year and a half is really being able to talk about my experience as a guild officer and how leadership in a guild should run. And some of those videos are the ones that I think are my most popular and are the ones that people often repost or quote or at least reach out to me the most about. And I do have one for you today, and it is something that came up on brunch yesterday morning. And I spent basically the entire day yesterday, other than being focused on making sure that the Broncos won their game. Um, Not that that would help them play or anything, but really thinking about some of the things that were said. And contextually, what I want to talk about today is how you, as a leader or as an officer, or just somebody who is seen as a leader within your guild, even if you don't have that tag, and how what you say affects what other people do. And it's not necessarily about being careful about what you say, but understanding how you say things can affect the mood of the people around you. Now, I know I'm being a little bit coy right now, and I'll get into what I'm talking about right after we throw to the intro. Okay, so effective communication strategies as a guild leader, as a guild officer, or just somebody who, again, who is seen as a leader. What you say as a person can greatly affect the people around you. And while I understand that this is a game and it's supposed to be fun, right? Nobody signs up for a guild leadership position unless they are dumb or they are somebody that understands they have an effective skill at something. Or I guess they just get thrown in and they don't know how to say no. But essentially, what it comes down to is in this game, you are basically the leader of your own country, right? You're the president, you're the prime minister, you're the senate, you are the king, the queen, whatever it is. It just so happens that your fiefdom is named something like "Let Qui-Gons be Qui-Gons" or Chewbacca's estheticians, right? Something ridiculous like that, but it doesn't change the effective communication skills that are needed. Now, what actually prompted this video is somebody on one of my brunch streams talking about Relic Delta and how Relic Delta has completely ripped apart their guild. Their guild is quitting, and it is a story that I've heard multiple times. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not actually convinced that it is Relic Delta that is tearing these guilds apart. Yes, people are quitting because of Relic Delta. I understand that. But I do fully believe that it is almost certainly how um, leaders within these guilds are communicating Relic Delta to their members, or maybe even not communicating Relic Delta to their members. How information is portrayed is incredibly important, and anytime that I post a message to my guild, it is indefinitely meaningful how I word things, right? So if you go to your guild and you say something like Relic Delta is coming, and you go like, oh my god, the sky is falling and Relic Delta is coming and we're all gonna fail at the game. Of course, 30 people out of the 50 in your guild are going to quit. Now, if you go to your guild and say, hey, there's this change coming out and it looks to be unpopular and it looks like it might negatively affect us, but we don't have the information right now, and I think that we should be very meaningfully aware of this and stick together and make a more um, information driven uh, decision in the future. you're more likely to see not 30 out of 50 of your people quit, but maybe like 2 out of 50. Now, I happened to dig up a message that I sent on my guild's Discord on November 30th, 2021. So roughly 4 years ago. And if any of you remember what happened about 4 years ago, it is when Squad Arena crystals were taken out of Squad Arena and put into GAC. Now, for those of you that do remember that time, you may think to right now and go, "Oh wow, I'm getting plenty of crystals. Like I'm doing really awesome. I'm doing great. I'm getting more than I was before." But if you remember the time back then, it was very different. And if you don't remember, let me set the scene. At the time, you gained 400 crystals per day for being first in Fleet Arena and 500 crystals per day for being first in Squad Arena. So effectively, most people in the end game had two shard mafias, a Squad Arena one and a Fleet Arena mafia. And CG basically said, hey, we're taking all of those crystals away and we're putting them into GAC. So now this game mode that was kind of fun before, but you didn't really have to interact with unless you wanted to, is now super important. And people were pissed. People were flipping out. People were like, whoa, I was getting 1,000 crystals per day. Yes, Egnards knows how to count. He's also including the dailies in this total right now. And now I'm only getting 500. This is madness. I have to win now. I didn't even want to play this mode. It was, I don't know if it is as bad as right now in terms of information, but it definitely was insanely negative before the change actually released. And I will say that it is funny that I sent this message on 11/30/2021, which implies that the change actually probably released right before CG left for a month, right? As they always do. But I want to read this message to you in its entirety so that you can kind of understand my communication style, which effectively says, hey, here's the information. I'm not lying about the information. I'm not happy about the information, but this is why I think XYZ. And I want you to keep in mind two things about this message when I read it. Number one, at the time, I really wasn't a content creator. I was posting a little bit on Reddit, and some people knew me, but it was much smaller back then, and nobody had seen my face. I had never done a face cam video. I'd never done a video before, actually. CG didn't know who I was. Meathead, I don't even think was the community manager at the time, but he didn't know who I was. And two, I actually was a much angrier person about CG, right? I didn't really understand the business as well, and I've learned a lot over time. Those are two important contextual things when you listen to how I spoke to my guild back then versus, how I'm talking to you right now. So here you go. Hey, everyone. Your resident angry officer who actively hates everything CG does here. I know that right now, with the Squad Arena / GAC changes, there's a lot of confusion and talk about quitting the game. I want to say that as GAC is my least favorite game mode, I completely understand where you all are coming from, and I myself have entertained those thoughts. What I would like to stress right now, however, is that we really do not know what is going on or what is going to happen. And that even my grumpy ass realizes that these changes may not be as awful as all of us are expecting them to be. We've had rough CG changes in the past and have always gotten through them. The point I'm really hoping to get across today is the consideration that we all at least try a season in the new GAC environment before anyone makes up their mind about stepping out of the game. Some may notice a drop in crystals is not as bad as they thought. This is the outcome I'm hoping for myself. While others may realize they are actually receiving more crystals overall. With that said, as with unpopular changes in the past, we will adapt, overcome, and survive. And I will not blame anyone for not wanting to stick it out through December. I am requesting that all members please respond to this post with their current standing, as recruiting is a metric fuck ton of work. And I need to see just how much work I'm going to be dealing with over the next week. And then I posted 4 poll choices. And not everybody voted, but a good majority of our Discord population voted. The first choice was I don't give a shit about this change and I'm continuing to play. 27 people voted for that. I'm not sure about what's going on, but I'm willing to give it a short-term chance to see how it affects my chances. And 9 people voted for that. F this game, but I'll stick around a few days until you find a replacement because I love you and I don't want you to have an aneurysm. Nobody voted for that. And F this game and F all of you leaving as soon as I read this shitty thing. And a single person voted for that. Now, what I want to stress is that if that post said, man, guys, the sky is falling, this really sucks, this is going to negatively affect our light side territory battles, we are all screwed right now, we're going to do our best, but I'm not hopeful, my GAC rankings are going to tank and I'm going to lose out on resources and we're going to grow much slower, I guarantee that the roles would be reversed on those poll choices. And what I really want you as an officer or as a guild leader or even as a member of a guild who maybe is going to send this to their guild leader and say, hey, let's talk about effective communication. What I really want you to stress is that if you are in a leadership position, you are likely more engaged with the news cycle of this game, right? CG is not very effective at being able to communicate things to their entire player base. So it's really up to you to let your players know what is going on. And you are going to be that first line of defense on how people perceive things. And if people see that you're scared and that you're nervous and that you're thinking of quitting and that you're going to leave, that's going to sway their decision. And that's going to make people leave. And you are fulfilling your own prophecy, and it's not Relic Delta's fault at that point. But if you're honest with people and you're level with people and you have an effective leadership structure and you tell people like it is, but at the same time you provide them some degree of hope or optimism or at least normalcy, it is far more likely that those people are going to stick around. So what I'm saying to you here when it comes to Relic Delta, when you are posting to your guild and you are doing your at all guild or at everyone or at here or whatever it is in your guild announcement channel, and you say things like, man, Relic Delta sucks. We are all screwed. We are going to lose every territory war now. We are going to lose every GAC now. We are going to struggle as a guild and we are not going to make progress. And I am really, really, really terrified of this change. Don't be surprised when your guild falls apart. But if you say, hey, we've been through a lot and Relic Delta is tough and I don't know what to expect with Relic Delta, and I don't know if you're going to like Relic Delta, and you might even really hate Relic Delta, but what I do know is that changes have happened in the past. And what I do know is that we've gotten through those things in the past. And what I do know is that it really doesn't hurt us to at least try something before we make that decision. And that I am hopeful that we will be able to come out of this on top. Well, what I know is that your players are going to respect you more. And your players are going to be more willing to stick around for you. And your players are going to start to spread that message a little bit more of saying, hey, you know what? Unpopular change, it is going to be bad. But I think we're okay. And I think the game will survive. As players, and I'm talking to the players who are listening to this right now, I think one thing that you guys also need to understand, not Relic Delta specific, is that your guild is like a family. And I have told you to break up with your guild in the past. And I still think that if that is the right decision for you, that that is the decision you should make. But I also think that if you know that your guild is going to really struggle through this, and you know that you really want to quit, express that to your guild now, not in general chat. Message your leader, let them know. And the reason I'm going to tell you to do that is because, as I said in my message, recruiting is really tough. It is really hard to do. And it is appreciated by me every single time I get a message from a guild member who says, hey, I'm quitting the game. I'll give you like a week. I can stick this out for a week. I'm not going to do everything. I'm not going to do my fleet crime. I'm not going to do conquest, obviously, because I'm quitting. I'll do my dailies to get my 600. I'll deploy in TB just to help you out. I'll give you a week to make the transition a little bit easier for you. I'll give you a little bit of time to try to find another person, right? I'm not saying give them a month. I'm saying give your guild a heads up. Help them out a little bit. All of this is to say that, again, with Relic Delta, how you communicate to your guild effectively changes what your guild is going to think about things. And if you are a negative Nancy, your guild is going to fall apart, and then you're going to come to Discord and you're going to get really mad about it. And you're going to be like, my guild fell apart. It's Relic Delta's fault. It's your fault. It's ineffective leadership. You can sign up for my leadership seminar. We'll do it on Discord. We'll meet 6 hours. You tell your employer that you're going to a leadership seminar, and I'll even give you a certificate signed by Egnards. You can hang it up in your office at work. Do 6 hours for 3 days with we'll do role playing, role reversals. We'll do all the things they do at leadership seminars so that it feels legit. Because I think a lot of you, your struggle isn't Relic Delta. It's effective communication. If you are an effective communicator, you will be less affected by these types of changes. This has been your egg talk for the day. I hope you find it helpful. If you have any other guild topics you'd like to hear me talk about, things that you're curious about as a leader, as an officer, as a player who just wants to have more effective leadership in your guild and you're wondering what the failing is, hit me up on Discord. Let me know. Reach out. These are my favorite messages. My favorite messages are from guild leadership who say thank you or say, hey, that was helpful, or say, hey, I got a really big question. I really, really, really want my guild to succeed. Here's what I'm doing. What can I do better? I love those messages. So with that said, thank you for listening to my egg talk. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day.